So this is kind of a lesson that I learned and something that was pointed out to me by one of my younger brothers that helped me through rehabilitation of just recent injuries, and not just physical, but the psychological kind of mental stuff that comes along with that, having to, reset again and go, understanding limitations, and, again, just adapting into, a new role and new things in life. But my brother pointed out to me one day, he looked at me and he said, "Jeff, you're not Ben Emanuel, you're Jeff Bourns." So this is, my brother knows a lot about, he's my brother, he knows me. So when I was going through my issues, and especially when I was growing up, he and I, middle one, we would always, get out in the driveway and bang around a little bit, on the basketball court until maybe 7th, 8th grade. And then he got to where he was pushing me around. I didn't want to play with him anymore. But anyway, just from that, when I was growing up, there were a lot of periods in time where I was very athletic. I could keep up with a lot of the kids, but then there just got to be like an age, or especially with basketball, some other things, just like running up and down the court, stretching. I just wasn't able to do that as much, but I did excel in tennis. But with tennis also, there got to be a point where just drop shot lob just got me too much, to where I would have issues with skin breakdown on my socket, the top of my socket, just rubbing on, inner thigh, and just, using a lot of energy, just getting gassed. But I always looked to guys like Ben Emanuel. He is a friend of mine, and we went to high school together at Clearbrook in Friendswood, Texas. So Ben was an amazing athlete, phenomenal athlete, very gifted athlete. Went on to go play college football at UCLA, and then from there made his way into the NFL. So we would always watch Ben, on TV at UCLA, and you're always like, "Hey, there's my buddy." It's like one of those feelings, and like at the same time you're, not just athlete, but anyway, and you're like, "Hey, what does that feel like, running out of the tunnel, or being there and just making a big play? Like, how does that feel inside?" Because at the end of the day, I think that's all a lot of us, really interested in, is like, that feeling of just like when you see something exciting, like what does that feel like? What is that like? So Ben stopped, doing stuff in the NFL, and it just kind of got to be like right place, right time with my journey in life and his journey in life. And we started connecting, having lunch and things a little bit more, and just talking about things. And at the time I was a nonprofit organization, and I was coming off of a really bad back situation, to where I made an adjustment in my life. And there were some things that I, when I was younger, that I really wanted to try to accomplish, but I kind of took my eye off of that ball, for a little while, and had other duties, responsibilities that I needed to take care of. So things just kind of fell in place. And, there was a time where I had a back surgery, and I was able to rehab and recover. And adaptive standing tennis, or tennis for players like myself, the physical disability, in my case an amputation, like competitive league just wasn't around, or even there was some clinics Robin Burton was doing, and some people were doing other things, just real small things here and there, but like the organized part of it, the competitive side of it, just wasn't out there. I had competed prior in adaptive sporting events, but they were just really small, and I wasn't a big track and field guy. Loved swimming, but it wasn't for me at that time. But from that time, I did actually learn a lot that I used later in adaptive standing tennis. Buddy of mine, Rudy Garcia Tolson, I met him. He was like 11 years old, I think 10 years, back at some of the games that I competed in. And when I met him, I remember as just a young guy, I met him and his mom, and he came up and gave me a card of his. And it was a stock card, his photo with Challenge Athletes Foundation, but on the back it had information about Rudy, things that he's accomplished, and just his life story. And so at the time I really didn't think anything of it, but when I got back into tennis and I got back into adaptive sport, I compared that time that I was first getting into adaptive sports and track and field and swimming to where there were not a lot of resources available. You like literally had to go and hustle and go to like little small mom and pop shops or businesses to get sponsored. And by sponsored, I mean a very little amount of money to go and compete to be at this, ultimate level. And so you had that. And then you also had, do I want to pursue that, or do I want to go and get my education and follow this route? So at that time, it was more for me like I lost interest. I trailed out, but I still had that stuff. So when I got back in tennis, I compared the two situations and I said, okay, here's a guy, Rudy, where he got into something. He probably saw something that other people didn't see, or his mom saw something, parents, friends, Challenge Athletes Foundation saw things that others weren't seeing, and he kept with it. So I kind of kept that same mentality and did the same thing, and hustling out of the block as far as like with adaptive standing tennis, where I printed out cards of myself when I got in really good shape. And, I'd go pass them out to businesses, and that's how I hustled to make side money to travel, to go compete, to, take care of myself medically. Just lessons that I learned from people going through the process. Now, so going through the process again, Ben trained me. So I had the fortune of starting up out of Houston's West Gray Multipurpose Center. Just phenomenal facility, very accommodating for people with adaptive needs, right? So they have adaptive sporting equipment to work out, basketball court, tennis court, swimming pool. So, and just beyond that, it's just great to just be amongst others like you. So it's just one of those feelings that it's hard to describe. You have to again feel it. So I went through that process, and I go and Ben would train me. And to be honest, I got in the best shape of my life coming off of that back surgery in 2015. And just going through that, I remembered, I'd always think, and I would like talk to Ben, and we would go to lunch at this place, Cafe Express, after, and we would talk. But, I'd ask him about experiences and things like that, and we would just, continue to engage and get into conversations and things. And then just our workouts in general, I remember, like, we would go and hit it hard for an hour, but like the first 30 minutes I'll be getting in the zone, and then the next 30 minutes, like that was like ecstasy for me, or like I would just completely get tunneled out in a zone to where I was just like completely focused. The world was like so peaceful, but I was hitting my workouts and I was hitting my training hard. I was training for biomechanics, doing everything properly, or as proper, as I thought. And I was very fortunate enough to have Ben as a coach and a trainer and doing that, because you can get injured very easily if you have an amputation at any level, if you're not doing things the correct way biomechanically, and that can lead to like many of the links on the bicycle chain falling off. So there got to be a point where I started competing more competitively. Ben was traveling on the road with me, and some business things just started to come up, like ideas that could have been taken place, or could have been capitalized on, as far as branching out and doing some other things besides just playing, right? But I got caught up in, at the time, the feeling of, probably nothing to what Ben or any, player that, you run out and you're on the biggest stage, and, I got a taste of that, and, it's great. I mean, that's a perk of it, right? Just something that you can always hold on to, and you remember that in really tough times when you're going through. But yeah, there got times where I'm stubborn. I'll be the first to admit that. And I played through a lot of injuries. When I had to have a toe amputated, I was back out a month later. And, a lot of that led to other injury down the road. And then I would also play, like, let's say I would get like an infection, staph infection. 3 days later, after heavy antibiotics, I'd be out hitting, exercises and workouts and training, to where when I had time and I could be more, in business mode or Jeff Bourns mode, for myself, like positive affirmations, right? I think I'm a really smart, pretty, witty, just very good, intellectual, just friendly guy. That's one of my attributes and things that, I like to think that I'm good at. I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy saying hi, making friends, and things like that. But in kind of ignoring Jeff Bourns and being more like, okay, I want to be Ben Emanuel and be in that sports zone, right? I ignored listening to myself and my body and my own needs and what I was good at and what I excelled at, and an understanding that there are limitations at times, and you do need to remember that. And there's no shame in that at all if you need to take time to do what you need to do. But yeah, there were definitely times that I missed out on doing some things and may have let people down during the process. But it's all part of the process. As long as you learn from it and you grow and keep going, you're good. But just as things kind of got to where they got with my back, and it was like just right there with COVID, I got put in some situations where it was like recovering from different back problems, and doctors prescribed me different medications that interacted with me different at different times, and then also having to abide by local state level laws as far as like how you are able to manage your pain as opposed to like how you're able to manage pain in other states. And the medication that I was taking wasn't right for myself. I didn't have good reactions from it. I let the doctors know this, but that cascading process led to having something implanted into my body, which essentially that failed. But that kind of just took away even more from me, and I became less active again, less mobile, which led to just a lot of sedimentary activity. And it actually caused me more pain because I didn't have neutral spine. I wasn't flexible. So when I was coming out of this process and I got everything removed, my brother had a talk with me, and he was like, Jeff, like sometimes I look at you and you have all the potential in the world. Like what's stopping you? What's holding you back? You're not Ben Emanuel. You're Jeff Bourns. Remember that. So I took that in and I thought about it. He's like, you're a real smart guy. Let's start using your brain here, and less of the body. Work smarter, not harder, kind of thing. And so I really took that in, and it took me some time to process it, as well as I'm very fortunate. I have some friends in tennis and some really just great friends in life, but had some opportunities. Buddy Riley Opelka, really stand-up guy. I got to meet him at River Oaks back in when he was younger, 2016, and he reached out and just was an inspiration for me just at different times as far as using my voice. And when there were times that when I was younger, I did get picked on when I played sports, right? So I didn't know, again, it goes to that feeling of like, what does it feel like to be at this level? And then you get to a level where you're like, I'm here, but it was just a lot. So, Riley really helped me out a lot, and learning how to use my voice more and speak up and be myself. And then invited me out for some tennis tournaments, hooked me up some pretty sweet tickets, and just being able to say that, hey, I know Riley, and he's a good guy, he's a solid guy. I wish him the best, in the future, and see him around and things like that. But this is kind of just a lesson that another friend of mine, Ian Willoughby, he told me to capture the times that you feel most inspired, and you take advantage. Like in my case, there are certain times where I do have to take time out of the day, and I do have to lay down, and I have learned to listen to music and some other things. I'm not able to read, but I can do other things to keep my brain going and not just in my head as much. But when you do feel inspired and you're ready to go and get something done, go get that done. And then just you set and you prioritize things, and set reasonable expectations for yourself. But no, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of people and share a little bit more about my journey, my experience, and things that have happened recently, and that I'm adapting to a new phase in life, and not doing playing, but kind of owning everything, and being able to feel proud in what I've accomplished, and moving into another stage in that realm, as far as getting out in the advocacy end, and just meeting more people, saying hi, how's it going, do you play tennis, do you play other sports, and just sharing some of my life experiences growing up, because it's a different world out there, and there's a lot of people doing a lot of really great things that laid the foundation for me to even be able to do what I'm doing right now. So the only thing you can do is kind of do the same, and pay those individuals back for the work that they put in, because I can tell you straight up, you don't get paid a lot of money you know, sometimes, you know, yeah, you do hit a spot, and it's like like very fortunate, you know, and you don't want to take that for granted. But you know, at the same time, I look at those guys that came before me, and you know, it's just like, what did they have to go through? Because I know what I went through, so it's just like, you know, hey, respect to all them, and you just keep paying it forward. But yeah, just, you know, learning myself, and you know, I'm Jeff Bourns, and I'm happy who I am, and gonna keep it rolling. But Jeff Bourns, not Ben Emanuel. Ben's a great guy.